So yesterday I'm online, and I'm looking on my Twitter feed, and I see this article shared. This article just published by the New York Times. The headline is "Before Shooting in Iraq: A Warning on Blackwater," and it's definitely an article worth reading. And something though that sort of struck a lot of people's minds here and really grabbed their attention was the very first paragraph, which I feel is sort of bizarre to just put in this one paragraph under this headline, "Before Shooting in Iraq, a Warning on Blackwater," because personally I think this is the story. I mean, they go more further into detail in the story later on, but it's more of a broader look at Blackwater. But I think this alone is a story. Let me just read to you this first paragraph from the New York Times. Just weeks before Blackwater guards fatally shot 17 civilians at Baghdad's Nisour Square, Michael? Nisour Square in 2007, the State Department began investigating the security contractor's operations in Iraq. But the inquiry was abandoned after Blackwater's top manager there issued a threat that he could kill the government's chief investigator, and no one could or would do anything about it as we were in Iraq, according to department reports. American embassy officials in Baghdad said, wait, what? Let's stop right there before we go any further. We have a Blackwater manager directly threatening the life of a State Department official who's performing an investigation on Blackwater, and he goes ahead and threatens him? And that's that. If you read further into the article, you will find out that, in fact, per memos and internal State Department documents obtained by the Times, these are from 2007, these documents, Gene C. Richter was a diplomatic security special agent, and Donald Thomas Jr., a State Department management analyst. They met with this Blackwater project manager in Baghdad. This guy's name is Daniel Carroll. They went to discuss a months-long investigation into the contractor's work in the country. Mr. Carroll said that this is from Richter's memo. Richter is the diplomatic security special agent. Mr. Carroll, who again is the Blackwater project manager, said that he could kill me at that very moment, and no one could or would do anything about it as we were in Iraq. Mr. Richter wrote in a memo to senior State Department officials in Washington. He noted that Mr. Carroll, this Blackwater guy, had formerly served with Navy SEAL Team 6 and elite, obviously the elite unit. Mr. Carroll's statements were made in a low, even tone of voice. His head was slightly lowered. His eyes were fixed on mine. I took Mr. Carroll's threat seriously, said Richter. We were in a combat zone where things can happen quite unexpectedly, especially when issues involve potentially negative impacts on a lucrative security contract. Following this meeting, officials at the American embassy in Baghdad sided with Blackwater. They wrote that Richter and Thomas, the officials, their investigation was unsustainably disruptive to day-to-day operations and created an unnecessarily hostile environment for a number of contract personnel. Are you kidding me? The two State Department officials were immediately ordered to leave Iraq and return to Washington. I don't know what... I mean... I'm at a loss for words here. I mean,
it's completely unsurprising.
Libertarians out there, we should privatize everything. I agree with you. Let's not send troops over and government officials over to take care of foreign situations, relations, etc. We should just send over companies like Blackwater, who have obviously no oversight, and do things completely above the line. Oh, wait a minute. A month later, this is just unbelievable. I don't even think it was a full month later, just weeks later, was the 2007 shootings in Baghdad's Nisour Square, where Blackwater guards shot and killed 17 Iraqi civilians. And it gets worse. It really does, actually. After returning to Washington, the chief investigator wrote a report to the State Department officials documenting the misconduct by Blackwater employees, and they warned the lacks of oversight in the company. I mean, this is before that Nisour Square shooting.
Yep.
No way did they see. I mean, please. If only there's no way we could have seen that coming. Oh, I guess if we only literally read this report that was written by a guy who had absolute firsthand access to what they were dealing with over there. In this document, basically completely writing down the misconduct by the Blackwater employees, and it's worth noting that this contract that they were worried was going to have a negative impact on a lucrative security contract. The reasoning they sent them home is a $1 billion contract that was made to protect American diplomats.
Yep.
And this contract, wrote the State Department official, had created an environment full of liability and negligence. The management structures in place to manage and monitor our contracts in Iraq have become subservient to the contractors themselves. The investigator, Gene Richter, wrote in a August 31st, 2007 memo to State Department officials, Blackwater contractors saw themselves as above the law. He added, adding to the hands-off management resulted in a situation in which the contractors, instead of State Department officials, are in command and in control. His memo and other newly disclosed State Department documents that made it clear the department was alerted to serious problems involving Blackwater and its government overseers before the Nisour Square. In October 5, 2007, just as State Department and Blackwater were being rocked by scandal in the aftermath of the Nisour Square, State Department officials finally respond to Mr. Richter's August warning about Blackwater. They took statements from Mr. Richter and Mr. Thomas about their accusations of a threat by Mr. Carroll, but took no further action. Let's hear about what you have to say. Okay, thanks. Goodbye.
So they threatened to kill you? Oh, that's kind of shabby.
Yeah.
All right, hey, look, have a good weekend.
You're
You're not in Iraq anymore. Go have a drink.
We'll call you. Condoleezza Rice, then the Secretary of State, named a special panel to examine the Nisour Square episode and recommended reforms, but the panel never interviewed Mr. Richter and Mr. Thomas. I mean, really, who needs their first-hand account about...
Well, they're a little bit biased.
Yes.
Because he threatened to kill him.
Yes.
So I don't think that that's someone you can really get an objective assessment from.
It's worth pointing out, too, that the government still awards Blackwater with contracts, but now they're just known as Academi, right? That's how you say their name? Academi. Academi. Excuse you. It's been sold since from the original CEO and owners of Blackwater. And it's changed its name numerous times because if there's anything you need to do after slaughtering 17 innocent civilians, you got to change your brand. It's very worrying for your brand power.
Your brand essence is jeopardized by shooting randomly into a crowd of Iraqis, killing 17 civilians, including a 9-year-old boy, because you're amped up on.
I would love to see.
Because you're amped up on roids, and you're frigging sociopaths, and even a investigation that is pretty primed to look in your favor shows that there was no fire coming your way. Yeah, your brand's a little bit in jeopardy.
I'd love to see the TED Talk from the current people who run Academi, the former Blackwater. For your brand power out there, you have to really, manage that brand engagement. You have to make sure that if your company is ever involved in the mass murder of 17 innocent civilians, you have to make sure that the first thing you worry about is your rebranding.
So the problem was, here's a brand challenge. Blackwater kills children and innocent Iraqis.
Yes.
Our core brand identity was we threatened to kill State Department investigators. Tough brand, strong brand. Wasn't working anymore. Solution.
Academi.
Can we bring back the kid? No. Can we bring back the innocent Iraqis? No. Probably wouldn't want to either. But what we could do is we could explore changing our name. Let me show you. I got it. They could totally give a TED Talk.
And
We should do it. That's a new sketch. We could do TED Talk for sociopathic people.
And of course, after that Blackwater TED Talk, you would hear a rousing from the crowd. But let's get to this. By the way, to just finish that thought, the most recent contract we've given to Academi was just in May of 2014, just like a month and a half ago. And since the Nasor shootings, where they killed 17 innocent civilians in a slaughter, we've awarded them $200 million in contracts since. So they've gotten the slap on the wrist from the original $1 billion contract.
You guys need to slow down. Oh, you'll kill me? Just kidding.
But it's worth
looking
pointing
forward
out,
to your TED Talk.
in case you're wondering, what the guy who sold Blackwater is up to, the former CEO of Blackwater, Eric Prince, what he's up to today. The Wall Street Journal a few months ago sat down with Eric Prince. Guess where he is? In Hong Kong. And he is now the chairman of Frontier Services Group, an Africa-focused security and logistics company with intimate ties to China's largest state-owned conglomerate, CITIC Group. Beijing has titanic ambitions to tap Africa's resources, including $1 trillion in planned spending on roads, railways, and airports by 2025, and Mr. Prince wants in. I think I've tapped the Middle East for all it's worth. Time to move on to the continent of Africa and basically squeeze any sort of nickel and dime I could get out of there. And if you're wondering what this patriotic man who was running a company to protect our diplomats over there when they weren't also threatening the lives of them, he said this about why he's decided to move over to China. What sent him packing, Forbes finds out. It's America's future that has Prince turning to China. And he quotes, this is from Eric Prince, former CEO of Blackwater.
There we go.
I would rather deal with the vagaries of investing in Africa than in figuring out what the hell else Washington is going to do to the entrepreneur next. You know, it is disgusting to me what this country has been doing to the entrepreneur. You used to be able to threaten the lives of state officials and slaughter 17 innocent Iraqis without any sort of repercussions. But now, the entrepreneur can't get away with even the slightest of death threat. 17 is really not that much compared to what mercenaries... I'm sorry, not mercenaries. Did I say mercenaries? Security contractors once killed. Necessarily. We're not worried so much about the killing part because, we right there put it in our brand messaging. It's the branding of such words really hurts us. It's not mercenaries. It's security contractors. It's not Blackwater Group, the company who slaughtered innocents and threatened state officials. It is Academi, who, as far as I know, have only slaughtered innocents, but not in a way that really puts any of them on trial. It's stunning to me. Unbelievable. And if you're wondering what's going on with that, this
Obama's America, you cannot threaten to kill a State Department investigator.
That's right.
The sort of creeping socialism.
That's right. That happened in 2007 when it was cool under Bush.
That was the sort of...
When we had our freedoms and liberties.
Kenyan socialism.
If you're wondering, though, what's going on with the Nasor shooting cases, that we did apparently go after these people who murdered innocent civilians. 4 Blackwater guards are currently on trial in Washington for the shootings. And the government's previous case against 5 other guards who were involved in the shootings was dismissed in 2009, really putting a damper on the entrepreneurial spirit.